power comes from within. If they counted you out, it doesn't matter, you're still gonna win.
What's Trending, presented by Tim Daly Ford, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Expansion. It continues. Yesterday, Brett McMurphy reporting that Big 12 basketball coaches specifically are in favor of adding UConn to the Big 12. The defending national champion Huskies are in the mix as an all-sports addition to the Big 12 as well. Jarom, what do you make of this report from friend of the program, Brett McMurphy?
I think it has legs, and certainly the coaches liking UConn doesn't mean they're going to be added or added imminently. I still think that the crux of all of this expansion possibility is the Pac-12 TV deal. There has to be disgruntled potential homies or not, and then the Big 12 can assess and go, okay, Four Corners you coming in, Colorado, Arizona you coming in. If they're not, then they could go kind of the UConn and maybe it's San Diego State or Gonzaga route, right? And is it all sports and is it Gonzaga men's hoops only? Like, what does that look like? I do wonder in the pursuit of the coast-to-coast thing if it's going to be too spread out at some point, or does that matter? Because we saw with the WAC back in the day, like, meh. But granted, it was the WAC. None of those teams were ultra good. Like the Big 12 is really good.
That was really only Oklahoma to the West Coast, though. It wasn't like coast to coast.
Right. At what point are you maybe stretched too thin? Like, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for BYU women's tennis to play at UConn in West Virginia financially. Like, obviously all the money's in football, and there's some in men's basketball, and perhaps an increased amount, as Brett Jarom has alluded to. So we'll see, man. But like, if you told me today, hey, Big 12's going to add UConn, and they'll probably go get another just to make it an even number, I would imagine. I'm fine with it, mainly because we're new at the party, and we're just happy to be at the party. And we're asking where the non-alcoholic beverages happen to be at said party. So we'll see if UConn and Gonzaga end up being in the league, man.
There are two things that remain consistent every time I hear about a Big 12 expansion report. One, that Brett Yormark wants to get into the Northeast, and two, that Brett Yormark wants to get into the West Coast and make it a true coast-to-coast conference. The defending national champions in basketball to the Big 12, when he wants to clearly and has publicly stated, we want to double down as the #1 rated basketball conference in America, this is not surprising at all.
Yep.
I am a little surprised that it's all sports. Though UConn football did take a little bit of a step up last year as an independent.
Yeah. Obviously, women's hoops, fantastic.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, they have some powerhouse programs in basketball.
Taking a step back a little bit in women's hoops, but still one of the top 6 programs.
It's not a surprise at all. In fact, at this point, I would be surprised if UConn to the Big 12 does not happen.
In what, the next 5 years?
Yeah.
2 to 5 years?
I'd give it maybe 3 years tops. I think it's going to happen fast. The big question mark remains...
The invite or the entrance?
The invite. Yeah. The invite should happen, I think, in the next 2 years, and then, if they're in within 4 to 5 years, great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could happen within 1 year of Pac-12 new TV deal.
See, and I think that they're in regardless of what happens with the Pac-12.
I think I think I do too, but I don't think an invite will come until that happens. Otherwise, just do it now. Like,
they need a partner, is what we're getting at, right? Like, UConn needs a partner to come in with them, at least to make it a 14-team conference.
I am aware that Gonzaga has been pursued by the Pac-12 and Big 12. There are options there should they want to go there. Now, official invites, I can't speak to that, but there have definitely been conversations.
There's interest, yes.
Yes, I am essentially reporting that here.
Mutually.
Yes. And when would that happen? Stuart Mandel said that was going to happen potentially soon. It did not. It's going to be a double deal, you'd think. There's going to be 2 of these kind of teams. You could bring Gonzaga all sports if you wanted. They just don't have football.
Sure.
So maybe San Diego State is that first one. If you're trying to get West Coast, that's truly West Coast. Gonzaga, it's not on the coast, but it's the Western Pacific time zone, right, in Spokane there. So, yeah, it's interesting. And do you get spread too thin? Is going in on basketball a good move in the long run? Should you add? Because when you add UConn, you are not adding football, even if the team's in the league. Does that make sense? You are adding men's basketball with a lot of women's basketball, and then whatever with football and the other sports. San Diego State, good spot, Southern California, like that makes sense to me. I'd love to have Gonzaga in the league too. Why not? At this point, it's already hard enough. Just keep piling on, I guess. It's like BYU football schedule. Sure, 11 Power 5s.
Make it a semi-pro basketball league. Whatever.
It already is with NIL.
Make it the minor leagues of professional basketball.
Maybe Jackie Moon's walking through that door in the Big 12 with the fro.
Yeah, UConn I think it's a fun addition. The idea of BYU playing UConn in men's and women's basketball is a really fun idea. Like, that's cool that they could come to Provo.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not ideal for travel circumstances for the smaller sports, but you can schedule it so that maybe your tennis team, because there are so many teams in the conference, only have to go to UConn maybe you play them once every 2 years, and then you alternate trips, so you're only making that trip once every 4 years.
Yeah, I'm mostly kidding on that one. There's so much money in football, and then they're going to try in men's basketball, that they figure it out later.
And frankly, there are flights to New York that are cheaper than flights to LA right now. It's so dumb. Like, it makes no sense. So, like, the whole travel thing, it's inconvenient, though. It just takes longer, and it's out of the way.
But no one cares. Like, BYU, if BYU cared about travel, they wouldn't have left the WCC. You know what I mean? The travel is great. Now you go to random small airports that aren't as easy to get to. Like, BYU fans are going to experience this. It's awesome being in the Big 12. One minor con is it's going to be tougher to get to some of these spots.
Yeah, but you get 5 times the money.
Well, the fans don't.
I was saying the fans will
pay 5 times.
The athletic program, the money is such a boost that, to your point, it doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't matter.
You pay to travel for the smaller sports.
Yes. Luckily, they have airplanes.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yes.
Now the Pioneers weren't quick to move conferences.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because of wagons.
Don't be surprised. I was thinking about this last night. If that Pac-12 deal comes in and it's not like it's okay. Like, let's say it's just a little bit below the Big 12. If Colorado and Deion Sanders want to move, like, they'll find a reason to move, Jarom, right? They'll find a reason to move. And it could be Colorado and UConn, and the remainder of the Pac-12 is still there, and they go and get San Diego State, and the Pac-12 continues to exist.
Yes.
Like, that could happen as well. I think people are starting to get
SMU. And
they're starting to lein towards, well, if Colorado goes, then it's the first domino. Everyone's going to go.
So they could add in. Look, if 4 teams leave, now you're in trouble.
Yes, now you're in trouble. It's going to take
fine.
like probably 3 teams to leave for that conference to be in significant trouble.
Yes, and the Big 12 contract is not significantly more than what we think the big Pac-12 could be, to where the floodgates aren't open for this. All right, they'll just absorb the Pac-12. No, I don't. They're
not going to absorb it. Yeah, don't be surprised.
There's a lot of history, a lot of pride, there's still value there. It's just not as much, right?
I mean, Arizona and Colorado could both leave, and the Pac-12 could find a way to still exist.
Yeah.
Adding San Diego State and Gonzaga.
And they'd still be a Power 5 league.
They would.
It'd just clearly be the 5th.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, topic 2. Bruce Feldman of The Athletic said this about Kedon Slovis in an article in The Athletic. I like the fit of Slovis with offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick at BYU. I expect a big bounce back from the former USC QB in 2023.
Okay.
What would a bounce back season look like for Kedon Slovis?
Well, it's hard not to default to what he did his freshman season at USC. But
those numbers were awesome.
Who was he throwing to at USC? He had an NFL core of wide receivers led by Michael Pittman Jr.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tyler Vaughns is in the USFL.
And who was a true freshman on that team that didn't really play? It was Drake London.
And brother Drake London. Didn't really play, exactly. The next year he was thrown to Drake London.
That was an incredible wide receiver core.
SC receivers, they're always awesome.
Yes.
But that group was special, yeah.
Kedon's a great player.
This is Pittman.
He had special receivers. Yeah. So because he has progressed and he's gotten more healthy, he's had his successful surgeries, he's now a more experienced veteran. He's working with John Beck, who's been the quarterback whisperer. He's working with Aaron Roderick, right? Yes.
Find this guy.
Like, Kedon Slovis is going to be good for BYU. Can those around him help him have a truly special bounce-back season? It's going to take something special from his wide receiver core.
Is the O-line good enough? Are the running backs good enough? Are the receivers good enough?
This is going to be a complete offensive team effort if Kedon Slovis is to have a bounce-back season. Jarom, he could be great, but if the offensive line underperforms or the running backs don't perform or the receivers or have a downtick, it's certainly going to affect his numbers, and he's going to take the brunt of that blame.
And he did at Pitt, to your point. Like last year, he was terrible. but Pitt was terrible.
Terrible. Was it on Kedon all the way?
Some of it is always on the quarterback. But, yeah, okay, let's get specific.
Okay.
Okay, let's walk through a couple of statistics.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what Kedon's been in his career so far, what I think he should be, and what Zach and Jaron were, okay, just as a comp. Passer rating. Jaron was 158, Zach 162, Kedon's 144. I'd love for him to get in the 155 range.
Okay.
Okay.
So not to surpass Zach and Jaron, because those numbers were ridiculous. Those were ridiculous.
They took care of the ball in a unique way. More on that in a sec. Yards per attempt. 8 would be a great number. Zach was 9.1 in his career. Crazy. COVID. Jaron 8.4. Kedon 7.9. He's right there.
Okay.
I'm content with Kedon's explosiveness. Okay. For his career. Completion percentage.
It's good. He's good. 66%.
He's 65.9 for his career. Jaron was 65.2. Shocking, right?
Kedon completes a lot of
That freshman
passes.
year certainly helped. Zach was 67.6. Okay. And then, okay, looking at yards per attempt and completion percentage. Shout out to the homies at Cougar Stats. Since 2001 through last season, when BYU's quarterback in a game, or BYU in a game, 60% completions and 8.0 yards per attempt or higher,
more, okay.
87 and 6.
Amazing.
That is exceptional. There are exceptions to this. Arkansas last year, BYU did that, but got blown out.
I remember Cougar Stats tweeting about that after
Yes,
that
like,
game.
hey, the exception, just the 6th time, right? Kedon can sit in that space a lot this year. And if he does, again, 60% completion, not a crazy number in 2023 where you're checking it down a little more, 8 yards per attempt, which is a good number. Mm-hmm. You get into like the 9 or 10, you're chucking it and you're per attempt.
Sure.
Those are two numbers that stick out. A couple others. 1 TD every X passes. Jaron was 13.8. Zach was 14.9. Kedon's 18.6.
Okay.
I'd love for him to throw a touchdown pass like 3 fewer passes, right?
Okay.
Get to 15. And here's the one that sticks out. 1 interception every how many passes? Jaron Hall's number 1 in BYU history at 65.3. He rarely threw an interception. He's crazy. Zach with 55.8. Kedon's 38.4.
Yeah, he throws.
Which is still a good number. But for him to sort of touch what
throws
Jaron,
a few too many.
Yes, what Jaron and Zach did. And that's what Aaron Roderick has done. Pass efficiency in the form of completion percentage, touchdowns, passer rating, but mostly few interceptions. They take care of the ball. But Kedon is going to find the middle of the park in a way that perhaps Zach and Jaron did not. That's what a bounce back looks like for me.
Give me 3 touchdowns to every 1 interception for Kedon Slovis.
Yeah.
He's never done that in his career. His best stat line was 17 touchdowns and 7 interceptions during his freshman season at USC, albeit it was a little bit of a shorter season because he came in and had to replace the starter JT Daniels. But
Yes.
17 and 7.
I thought he was better than that. I thought he was in the 30 range.
Sorry, no, that's right. That's right. His sophomore season at USC, 17 and 7. He had a downtick after 30 and 9.
30 and 9 is great.
At his during his freshman year.
That's 3-1.
Okay, so since his freshman year, sorry, I misspoke.
Yes.
Since his freshman year,
I was like, give him them touchdowns.
he has not had a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. That to me is
had
the
arm
bounce
issues,
back.
had there were issues.
Injuries.
Some of which was him, some of which was obviously the team.
Yeah, he was incredible his freshman year.
Yes.
3-to-1. If it's 25 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, awesome.
I'd take it right now.
Incredible.
I want him in the 30-plus range, though.
Okay.
I think for BYU to be 7-plus wins, he's got to be in the 30-plus range.
That or the running game has to go crazy, right? Behind the offensive line.
How about both? This is BYU. we want both.
We want it.
We getting
want
greedy.
it all.
We're getting greedy.
All right, our